Hello everyone, my name is Fireheart and welcome to the Genius Invokationg TCG Master Guide. In this video, I will not just show you good decks and how to use them, but complete mastery over the cards. So far, I have 2 accounts that I have leveled to level 6, which is the max for the moment of making this video. So get ready because firstly, I would like to address something that was missing in my previous video, as the game mode wasn't out yet: elemental reactions. If you already know about this, feel free to skip the video to the next section, which I have timestamped all of them. First, let's start with Swirl. Swirl deals 1 damage to the swirled element to all opponent's characters, with the exception of the target, and applies the element to them, while removing the element from the active enemy character. Crystallize grants you 1 shield point to your active character. You can have a maximum of 2 shield points from the Crystallize reaction. Vaporize and Melt deal 2 extra points of damage. Overload deals 2 extra damage to the target, and makes the enemy switch their character to the next one in line. Burn deals 1 extra damage and creates a Burning Flame, which is a field summon that will deal 1 pyro damage at the end of the turn. You can have a maximum of 2 Burning Flames. Electrocharge and Superconduct deals 1 extra damage to the target and 1 piercing damage to all other opponent's characters. Quicken deals 1 extra damage to the target and creates a Catalyzing Field. When Catalyzing Field is active, Electro and Dendro attacks will deal 1 extra damage. Catalyzing Field has 3 usages. Frozen deals 1 extra damage to the target and freezes him. Frozen characters cannot use skills until the end of the round, and receive 2 extra damage when hit with pyro or physical damage. Receiving said damage will remove the freeze. Bloom deals 1 extra damage and creates a Dendro Core. When Dendro Core is active, Electro and Pyro attacks will do 2 extra damage. Dendro Cores have 1 usage. I want to add here that after trying to apply both Dendro and Cryo to a single enemy, both of them will stick. However, a burn melt reaction will not occur, as the Cryo and Pyro will create a melt first, leaving the enemy with Dendro still applied. And if you give it a second pyro attack, then the burn will be created as normal. But before this video continues, I have a challenge for you. If we hit 50 subscribers until the end of the year, I will be playing and making a series on me trying to beat Jump King. So if you want to see me suffer, hit the subscribe button. Now back to the video. When building a deck, you should envision how the characters will work together. Try building your deck around the concept, like building a deck focusing on normal attacks, freezing the enemy, dealing piercing damage, air burst damage, etc. One of my favorite decks is focused on normal attack infusion, using Chongyun for a starter, creating a Frost Field and setting up support cards for me to switch to my next character, which are Keqing or Diluc depending on my starter hand. Of course, using 3 characters of different elements can make the dice rolls a pain, so having cards that can help you control the dice, such as the Paimon card that will give you Omni Dice, or the Knights of Favonius library, which gives you a chance to reroll, is a huge help. A further help is facilitating the character switch with the Downwinery and Catering cards, for example. But it is only one example of one deck. To list other decks that I like, we have the normal attacker with Yoimiya, Ayaka and Shinshou. This is a variation of the popular Ayamiya deck, but in this version, you start by getting and using Shinshou's burst, followed by infusing Yoimiya with Pyro, and using 2 of her normal attacks. This will give you her energy to burst, which you can use now, or choose to switch to Ayaka if your Yoimiya is low. In any case, if you have used Yoimiya's burst and you normal attack with Ayaka, this will cause the enemy to freeze and melt in a single move, dealing massive damage. I will give you one more example of my favorite deck, which I call the Iron Maiden. This team uses Mona, Noelle and Ningguang, and it can obliterate enemies while staying shielded from damage. An example of this team's rotation is using Mona's elemental skill to apply Hydro to the active enemy, creating a damage reduction shield, and a summon to apply Hydro again at the end of the turn. Then you switch to either Noelle or Ningguang depending on the cards that you have on hand, using their skills to create shields and crystallize, using the Geo Resonance cards to boost your team. And if you have some energy cards, that is good as well, since both of the Geo ladies deal massive damage with their burst. A well-equipped Ningguang can even kill a character in a single burst. But that is enough for team examples for now. By this point you have enough of the thought process to build your own deck, and if you wish you can look online for teams that are popular among the community. Although each card has a unique use, some cards still stand above others. Weapon cards need to be tailored fit to the character you're going to equip them on. For example, if you use the Skyward Harp to Yoimiya, that is a great value since most of her damage comes from normal attacks, and the harp gives you extra normal attack damage. But if it is a character that doesn't normal attack that much, perhaps just a regular Raven Bow will give you more value. For artifact cards we have two types, single pieces and full sets. If you are using a deck with at least two characters of the same element, using full sets are usually better, since they will both reduce the elemental dice cost of the selected element by 1, and they will also guarantee that you roll at least 2 of the elemental die on your first roll of the round. Using the single character piece version of the full set is a good idea. If you don't want to always roll 2 specific elemental dice, usually you will use those if you have 3 characters of different elements. But there are also single pieces that have unique effects that are good for a myriad of characters. For example, the Adventurer's Bandana is quite a good artifact. Costing only 1 elemental die, this artifact will be useful in any character that uses normal attacks like Yoimiya and Ayaka, as it will heal them for 1 HP for each normal attack, up to a maximum of 3 per round. We also have cards that I like to call Constellation cards, which are character-specific cards that somewhat mimic a character's constellation, giving them more power. But of course all of them are different. I'd say that you can use them if you plan to use that character as the power driver of your team. For example, on my team with Noelle, Ningguang and Mona, I have the constellation cards for the Geo girls, but not for Mona, since she is only there mostly to apply Hydro to the enemies. Now for my favorite cards, in no particular order, that I recommend, we have Identong Tian, which gives you 1 point of energy, which is great for the teams whose characters have powerful bursts. The J Chamber is great to get more elemental dice of the active character, and it costs only 1 die. The Knights of Favonius library gives you 1 extra roll of the dice each round, good for those who are unlucky like me. Liben, with a cost of 0, collects your unused dice, and after 3 of them are collected, he will give you 2 Omni dice. Just like in his event, he collects unused stuff and gives you what we want most. The Paimon card may seem costly, but with an initial 3 investment, you will get 4 Omni dice over 2 rounds. Now that's some serious stonks right there. And the bestest travel companion, a version of Paimon that transforms 2 dice of any element into 2 Omni dice, is also a good option. Timaeus and Wagner are excellent if you have lots of weapons and artifacts in your deck. Changing Shifts allow you to switch characters while costing 0. A great card to pull a fast sneaky attack on your enemy. I Haven't Lost Yet is good for costing 0, but is most useful if you are playing PvP, since PvE players usually don't go killing all of your cards, but PvP players are more fierce. Strategize is basically this game's version of the Pot of Greed, although not as powerful since it costs 1 die. For food cards, most of them are okay, but Lotus Crisps is the best since it can protect you from a big burst, and the pizza is good as it's the one who heals your character the most for only 1 die. Resonance cards are awesome, just be sure to understand what the card means before using it. For example, the Enduring Rock, which requires you to deal geo damage and have a proper shield on your character to be triggered. So the protection from things like Ningguang Jade Screen won't work here. Although all character cards have their uses, we have some that are more used by the community. And I have my favorites too, which are Noelle for having a powerful burst, the ability to shield and heal. Ayaka, which all of her skills are useful in a duel, plus she has a good passive. Ganyu may have a costly charge shot, but it can deal massive piercing damage, and her skill and burst are also very useful. Mona is a great elemental applicator and also a key component for nuke-based teams, and her passive that allows the switching from her to another character to be a fast action. Ningguang, as I said before, has a huge damage potential with her burst. It may cost 3 energy, but it is very likely that when used, it will send an enemy character to the Shadow Realm. Xingqiu, mostly because his burst both deal damage and apply element to enemies, and it has 3 usages, the only downside being that it is only triggered by normal attacks. But that is not much of a problem. And finally, Yoimiya, since she is mostly focused on normal attacks which only require 1 die of a specific element. In other words, having 3 pyro dice and 4 of any element will allow your Yoimiya to attack twice in a single turn, and get her burst, which is also not bad. Now let's see an example of a recorded PvP match. Let's take a look at me fighting with my auto attack deck, which was incomplete at the time, mind you, versus a regular player, trying to use a regular freeze combo here with Ningguang. The start of the match at coin is tossed, and if you get the number 1 facing you, you'll go first. Here I'm selecting my cards. You see that I got 2 artifacts that are the same. But since these artifacts are very useful, I'll keep them. I'm keeping one of the cards to help my rolls go better, and the Paimon cards to help me get more Omni die. And of course, the card that I get in exchange is the Skyward Harp. Selecting Xingqiu here first because I wanna get his burst as soon as possible. The elemental die roll, I got pretty lucky and got 5 usable die for my Xingqiu. Starting off with an elemental skill to grant me some defense and already build 1 energy. Now waiting for my opponent to see what he does. He chooses to mirror my attack with an elemental skill of his own. Now I'm calculating here my options and I chose to normal attack first. And it's the enemy's turn now. Let's see what he does. Cutting close there on time, the enemy chose to do an elemental tuning, elemental tuning and attack me. I play very quickly here, so let me explain. I use my card to better my rolls, and after that I will immediately use 1 artifact to use on Yoimiya. Back to my opponent now, let's see what he does. Switching to Kaya. Would be an interesting play if he would to go first. But as you see, I will end my round here. If I did not end my round right there, I would go second and he would probably freeze my Xingqiu. So it's a good thing that I got first. Now I need 3 die to use my Xingqiu's burst. Now I only got 2 usable ones, but knowing that I will use Yoimiya, I chose to keep my pyro die. And then using my reroll card, I rerolled them 2 times. And wouldn't you know it, the card helped me get the dice that I need to use my burst. And this of course is the first thing I do. My opponent chooses to strategize to get some extra cards, smart move. As you can see, he uses the Church of Favonius to gain more heals. I think his deck is quite full of healing. You see that while he's playing, I'm not only just paying attention to what he plays, but also my cards, thinking about what I'm going to do next. Chooses to heal his Xingqiu, which of course got pretty beat up after I used my talents on him. and now I simply choose to switch to Yoimiya because the beating is about to begin. Even though I use my elemental skill here, due to the enemy's cards played, he gets 1 healing even though I didn't get any damage on him. But this doesn't really matter. Continue with my turn, you'll see that I'll deal 5 damage with a single attack. This of course would be 6 damage, but he has the card that heals him. A pretty bad roll here. I choose to roll all of my dice almost, maintaining only the Omni one. Another bad roll, I only got 1 good roll out of that, which is the Pyro die. I will keep my Cryo for Ayaka. And this is my final roll. It's not bad, to be honest. It's enough to get me my Yoimiya burst. Using a card to quick switch his characters without giving me a turn. You see that I'm reading what he's doing. This match was recorded quite some time ago. But of course I wasn't already at max level, I just hadn't purchased all the cards that I wanted. And then again he heals. His deck is full of healing, based much on defense, while my deck is based a lot more on attack. Making use here of the artifact to constantly heal my Yoimiya for 1 every time I attack is a great move, since I will be both dealing damage and healing at the same time. You can see here that my Yoimiya has already built a burst and I'm just waiting for my enemy to play so I can use my burst on him. Now that is my turn, I go straight for the burst on the Ningguang. You see that she is now very low and I have all this status on my Yoimiya, which makes my Yoimiya quite the powerful character at the moment. My enemy ends his turns and I choose to play the down winery and heal my Yoimiya a little bit. Start of the next round here, my opponent simply chooses to concede. As you can see in the past here, with all this status on my Yoimiya would, according to my calculations, simply kill his Ningguang. His Kaya will probably die in 1 or 2 shots too, and leaving just his Chinchou alone, he probably didn't have much choice, although it seems evenly matched. I had quite the upper hand. I had 2 cards to support me, and I have 3 status to support my characters. Changing to my Ayaka at that instance would make so that I could simply kill any of these characters by dealing Cryo, Hydro, and Pyro damage in a single strike. That would absolutely destroy one of his characters. And of course I would still have dice to do a second attack, which could possibly kill another character of his, while he did not have the firepower to destroy me. Now let's take a look at here at another duel using the Iron Maidens deck versus a Freeze Swirl deck used by my opponent here. I'm sorry for the footage being a bit choppy here and there, but we'll take a look at this footage at 2x speed and I will pause when I need to explain something. Starting here, I start first, switching cards here. Those cards that I got rid of is cards that I think I wouldn't need against my opponent's character lineup, and I decided to ditch 2 of my cards and get 2 new ones. One of them is the Strategize card.
This is destiny.
Using Mona first so I can use her skill to protect myself, deal some damage and create an illusion to do extra Hydro application to my enemy. Here I got 2 Hydro die, but I will reroll 6 of them to see if I can get any more. I got another 2, which is good enough, and with 3 animal die, I choose to use my Paimon card to get me more Omni die for future rounds. Our opponent here decides to use his artifact card to equip his Sucrose and immediately changes to his Sucrose. On my turn here, I'm just drawing some cards with the Strategize, and that will be the end of my round. My opponent here uses the elemental skill of Sucrose, that way he can force me to get off mana and get into the Ningguang. And in his round I got another application for my illusion created by mana, and now 2 of his characters has Hydro applied on them. Seeing my rolls here, I got 3 usable die, the Geo die being the ones that I'm seeking since I'm gonna switch to a Geo character. Rerolling, I get a lot of Pyro die, but there's nothing I can do for the moment. Now putting the Pyro dice to good use, I equip my Noel with the sword, but I commit a mistake here, which is I switch to my Noel, knowing full well that his Sucrose has the ability of changing the character that I'm active on. And that will be exactly what he does, which makes me go to the Mona. Now luckily for me, Mona is a character that when I switch from Mona to another character, it is considered a fast action. So using only 1 elemental die, I can fix my mistake and go to Noel.
I will protect you.
Using a resonance card here, taking advantage that their Sucrose has Hydro apply on them, I will use my shielding skill to grant me a lot of shielding points. Of course, using the J chamber to guarantee me that the dice will roll in my favor. Now I got 6 points of shielding. My opponent decides to end his turn here, I don't know why. Maybe he doesn't have enough cards to play for only 2 die, but I think he only wanted to go first next round. Here I got 3 Geo die, very usable, but I'm going to reroll the rest to see if I can get anything better. And sure enough, I got an extra Omni die for my reroll. He chooses to use his Sucrose's burst, which creates a summon, but really the damage doesn't do anything to my Noel due to the amount of shielding points that I have. I will equip my Noel with a full set of artifact to guarantee that I'll get even more Geo die in the future. Now a simple attack to his Sucrose just to build energy. You can see now that my Noel has full energy and is ready to unleash her burst. But I choose to not use her burst as it would be a waste since a normal attack gets the job done. And of course I will use the Timaeus card combined with the artifact card on my Ningguang to basically get a free equip on my Ningguang while still building stacks on my Timaeus. Again, his elemental burst does nothing to a heavily shielded Noel. Those are great rolls here, of course most of them are dictated by my cards. I got 5 usable die, I will reroll these 3, getting an extra Omni die. My opponent here deals quite a heavy blow to me, breaking all of my shields, but of course he didn't deal any damage to me. I decided to go for the heavy damage phase, activating my Noel's burst. Now my opponent has quite a bit of trouble here, that if he doesn't switch to his Kaya, his Chinchou is gonna be killed immediately. But if he does choose to switch to his Kaya will be dealt a devastating blow. Indeed, chooses to not use anything. I think he's already lost his spirit here. You can see that he has 6 elemental die still, but I'm just gonna finish him off with a normal attack to his Chinchou. And of course I still have 3 elemental die, which I will use to take 5 damage of his Kaya. And in the round here, of course, only one more swing from Noel will completely destroy his Kaya. And with my guarantee rolls of the die, the deal is already sealed.
Time to clean up.
This doesn't look good.
Now to close out this video, I have some tips for you. At first it may seem that you don't have a lot of slots to build decks. but as you level up, you get more slots to make them. If you are itching for a challenge but don't want to go to PvP, you don't have to. There will also be unmarked high-level NPCs on the cat's tail that you can challenge. Putting 2 copies of one card in your deck increases the chance of you drawing that card. There is already a subreddit for Genius Invocation. There you can find meta decks as they come out, fellow TCG players, and even tournaments for real money prizes. That is all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. This video took a lot of work to make, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Like and share the video around to help your fellow duelists. If you have any tips of your own, or you just wanna say something to me, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.